Hi, welcome to the ADHD Parenting Solutions. My name is Laura Dawn, and I'm one of your hosts for this awesome event. Parenting children with ADHD can feel exhausting and overwhelming, and we can sometimes kind of lose ourselves and forget who we are as humans, besides just being a mom or a dad with a great big to do list and all the things. So, this is why I have invited Sarah Nicorek to join us today. Welcome, Sarah.
Hi, Laura. Thanks so much for having me.
Sarah, can you tell parents a little bit about what you do?
Sure. Yes, I coach and support parents and educators and what I call little brains, like the little kids in their lives or the children in their lives, in really like leveraging the power of their subconscious, understanding, first of all, what's happening in our brains, why we have like these negative thoughts, why we're constantly telling us like ourselves that we can't do something or it's too hard, or why we're talking ourselves out of things. And feelings, knowing that we never really learned that our feelings are just normal. Emotions are just energy in motion. It's just vibrations in your body. We kind of grew up scared of certain ones, avoiding other ones, suppressing all the ones that aren't appropriate. And now we're kind of understanding that all emotions are okay. And if we're normalizing having emotions and actually learning how to move through them and unstick that energy from the emotion that gets stagnant in our body and causes problems, then that really helps to free us up emotionally and mentally. And you can choose your thoughts. I help people understand how it's their thoughts that create their feelings drive their actions, your actions get your results, and that your thoughts are a choice. So yes, you may hear a bunch of negative thought, I like to call them thought options, and you get to choose the ones that you accept and believe, and that will sort of set you up for how you show up for the day, the actions that you take, and therefore the results that you get. And so it really empowers people and also helps like take that weight off of their shoulders of like, oh my gosh, I should, like all the things that we're told from outside of us, and reconnect with what we know inside and who we really are, so that we can consciously choose who we want to be and what we want to do and what we want to achieve and have. So
This is so important that we're talking about the thoughts and the emotions, because parents who are watching, that raising kids with ADHD, there are lots of big emotions involved. Our kids with ADHD have big emotions. They'll have big outbursts, they'll have meltdowns. They can be really easily agitated or anxious or angry, and it can look big and ugly and scary, and it can feel overwhelming for us. And as parents, we often have these thoughts like, I'm not doing a good enough job. What are people thinking about me? Like, why is this happening? What am I doing wrong? So maybe we can kind of dive in, Sarah, into those thoughts that we have. Where are they coming from? Why are we having them?
yeah, sure. So we actually have something called the negativity bias. And it actually is a helpful thing, right? It keeps us from like, taking silly risks, dangerous risks, like stepping off the edge of a cliff. Our brain says, I don't think you should do that. That's when we need that negative thinking, or that it's ingrained in us. But the problem is, and it helped us when we were, in need of always scanning for imminent danger, like poisonous animals behind the bush, or like a saber-toothed tiger ready to jump out and get us, or, another clan or group or tribe that was coming in to steal stuff from us. Like we were in actual physical imminent danger from wildlife and other, humans. And so that has kind of perpetuated, we've really honed that skill over time, because the people who had that heightened skill of always scanning for danger are the ones who survived, because they saw the tiger first, so they escaped first, and they had kids and they procreated, and so generally got passed down this skill, and I got honed and honed and honed. And simultaneously, it has kind of evolved in terms of technology and comfort and safety. And so while our brain was continuing to hone the skill of scanning for imminent danger, the dangers were getting less and less severe. And to the point now where our brain still has this really adept skill of scanning for imminent threats all over the place. What our threats are actually now are like social isolation and, other people's opinions, or what we perceive other people's opinions to be. As you mentioned, like when you go to the park and you think, oh my gosh, they're staring at me, they think I'm a terrible mom. We have all these negative thought options swirling in our brain because it's been developed over generations and generations. And so really understanding that you have actually 9-to-1, 90% of our thoughts are negative, and that's just genetics. Like that's just how we're programmed. And also 95% we're running on the repeated negative thoughts, and that gets automated. So we're not even aware that we're thinking these thoughts and these negative thoughts, and they're basically running our lives. We're operating from our subconscious thinking. So that understanding that in and of itself really helps to know what's going on, and to then open you up. It takes the pressure off you. It's not your fault. Like, what's wrong? Sometimes we get into what's wrong with me? I keep thinking all of these things. Well, you're designed to think those things, and sometimes they're helpful. And to be able to recognize when they're not helpful, thank them without getting so hard on yourself and judging and shoulding all over yourself, as we like to say, and get curious about, I wonder where that comes from, and untangle that root system, and then be able to choose something different. And then that in turn, like I said, creates a different feeling, allows you to take a different action, or motivates you to take a different action. And then you get a different, better result in the end. So understanding that that's happening with us. And then there's like that layer of empathy that's implicit in there, because once I understand that my brain is doing that, and that all brains operate the same way, I can be able to see my child who's like in this big, like you said, huge emotion, which is, if we detach the story from what that emotion means, like I'm a bad parent, if we can separate that and realize that's just our brain reacting to the behavior that I'm seeing, and there's actually no attachment to me. That's just one thought. Or I could be thinking, what's happening in that child's brain, because I know in my brain there's a negativity bias, in their brain there's also a negativity bias. And so it has nothing to do with me, in fact. And it allows more compassion, a little more psychological distance, so that you can see things a little more consciously and with compassion and empathy, and cognitively process the situation rather than have a hot reaction yourself.
Maybe we can go through an example of what this might actually be like. So here's an example. I take my 6-year-old to the park. He's playing on the climber. Somebody climbs up the slide. My child's at the top of the slide, ready to go down, and there's a child climbing up the slide. My child reaches out and pushes the other child, because the rules are slides are for going down only. The other child cries and gets upset and wants my child to apologize. And my child is now very upset because the other child broke the rules. So we know kids with ADHD are very like black and white thinkers, and they're often like rule followers. And if something is, out of alignment the way it should be, it can really throw them off. So here my child had the plan. He was going to go down the slide. Somebody was in his way. He shoved that somebody out of the way. And now we have a catastrophe at the park. We've got a crying child. My child's upset. The other parent might be, upset with me because my child's not apologizing right away. And my reaction is, oh my God. My thought is, oh my God, here we go again. We can't even go to the park and have a peaceful, pleasant time like all the other families. I'm a horrible mother. What am I doing wrong? And parents who are watching, I'm sure you can relate to that whole thought process. So how do I untangle that?
Yeah. So really the first step is being aware. And this is like the first step, and also everything. This will free you and empower you. And like I said, it's that relief. It really is that freedom. the awareness of what's happening in the moment. And it takes practice and time. And just being aware that I'm having that thought, like, oh my gosh, I'm the worst. How could this happen? Here we go again. All of those things you said, because in fact, actually, on your way to the park, you were probably playing out that exact scene in your mind, because if here we go again comes up, then that indicates there's, a pattern of thinking like this, maybe this has happened before, but the situation is just the situation. This is just what happened. All the other pieces about it are what we make it mean. So we make it mean that my child is mean or did something, or that child shouldn't have broken the rule. I'm a bad mom. My kid should be apologizing. All of those things, we've added that meaning. And that comes from all the experiences we had and learning we had when we were growing up. And when our brains were more open to suggestion and just we took things in without considering, our brains weren't even fully developed yet. We saw this happen outside, maybe when we were younger at the park, and when someone does something, you apologize, and that was repeated and ingrained into us. And so that's the belief that we have, again, subconsciously running through our subconscious, that drives us. So as soon as I see a child do something to another child, or someone do something to someone else, my immediate thought is they should apologize, because it's a well-practiced thought. So really getting curious, not judgmental, noticing your thoughts, like I'm noticing. And usually it can be tricky, especially at first, to notice the thought. Often we notice the feeling because it physically vibrates in our body. So you may feel like my heart is racing, I'm getting sweaty, maybe there's a buzz in my head and I'm seeing tunnel. And so really like noticing what is happening in your body, and then asking yourself, what thoughts am I having that are causing this emotion? Because it's your thoughts that are causing the emotion. So I'm thinking he did something wrong, or she did something wrong, or they did something wrong. What am I supposed to do? I've tried this, it doesn't work. This happens every time. I don't want to fight. Like all of these thoughts are flooding into my brain, which are causing all of these sensations in my body. So really just number one is just being curious. He needs to apologize, or she needs to apologize, or they need to apologize. Why am I thinking that? Why? And just getting curious and just noticing the thought. And you can even you don't want to just thought switch all the time, because then you're still suppressing the energy of that emotion in your body. And you're like, just think positively. And that, we call that toxic positivity, where we're just always trying to be positive no matter what. And that doesn't stop the energy of the negative emotion or the emotion you had before from flowing through your body. And it's supposed to flow. And if you suppress it, then you're shoving it into places like your organs and your joints. And that energy gets stuck and causes problems physically in your, headache, tension in your neck, backaches, stomach problems, like all the things. And so noticing what you're thinking. Okay, I'm thinking like this child needs to apologize. Why? Or my fists are clenched. I'm noticing what's happening in my body. What thoughts am I having? I'm having like, I'm a terrible mom. Interesting. Like, where does that come from? So number one is noticing I'm a terrible mom. Then you can either in the moment or later, sometimes in the moment, there are other things that need to happen, but ask yourself, is that true? What does that even mean? Because often most of the time, we're saying things that come from other places that are so vague or just cliche type things, and we don't even know what they mean. Sometimes I often hear people say I should be better. I'm like, what does better mean? I don't know. So you're telling yourself you should be better and you don't even know what that means? That's a lot of pressure. So telling ourselves I'm a terrible mom. Well, then let's get curious about that. What is a terrible mom? What is a terrible parent? Okay, it's someone who doesn't feed their kid, I don't know, beats their kid, whatever it is, neglects them, drops them off on the edge in the middle of the desert and leaves them there. Okay, that's what I define as terrible. Am I terrible because my child expressed their frustration in a perhaps inappropriate way? When you say it out loud, when you think through it, this is the thing, we just let these things run because we're not aware of them. We're not able to articulate them. Even just articulating it brings it into your conscious mind instead of, it stops it from rolling around in your subconscious. And just bringing it sometimes into your conscious mind, you can say, ah, I see the holes in that story already. And so that allows you to sort of recenter. Okay, I'm not a terrible mom. In fact, this has nothing to do with the type of mom I am. It is a situation that is happening, like get over myself kind of, but in a loving way. We don't want to judge, because that doesn't help us grow. So number one is really just noticing the thoughts that are going and then questioning them. Is that true? What does that mean? Do I like having that thought? What happens to me when I have that thought? What's another possibility in the realm of possibilities? There are a bajillion things that I could think. Why am I picking this one?
I have to share with the audience that I was that mom in the park. And I have to thank Sarah. Sarah's a master neuro coach and a certified tapping practitioner. Is that the right? Yeah. So Sarah has helped me immensely in my parenting, in myself as a human, as not just as a mother, but as a human being. And I went from that place of living in overwhelm and stress and swirling in negative thoughts. And through my work with you, Sarah, I have transformed my life. Like I have been able to really understand my thoughts, consciously choose my thoughts, which then drives the feelings that I want to have. And that has brought so much calm into my life, so much more happiness, such deeper connections with my kids. So working with a coach like Sarah can be so transformative for your whole family, because once I was able to bring that calm and that peace and that consciousness to myself and that confidence in my parenting, the impact rippled out to my family. The relationship between me and each of my kids improved. The relationship between my kids improved. My relationship with my husband improved. And this was all just by working with Sarah on myself. And so, Sarah, thank you from the bottom of my heart, because I went from a teacher with a busy job and busy kids and the belief that my family has ADHD, therefore life will just be hard. That's the thought I had. My thought was my life will be harder than everybody else's because we have ADHD. And I just accepted it. And I accepted that I would never have time for myself. Like that was just not a possibility. And through my work with Sarah, not only do I have time for myself, I have more time with my husband. I have time with each of my kids individually. I've had enough time that I've become a coach myself and created the ADHD Village. And I now have the opportunity to help thousands of families.
Yeah, what you're doing is just so spectacular. I could not be more proud of you. You are helping so many people, and it's just spectacular to see you grow.
Thank you. Now, I have to say, mamas who are watching and dads who are watching, if you are in that place of overwhelm and stress, it is hard to consciously look at your thoughts and all the things. So, Sarah, what can we do to kind of put ourselves first so that we can be in a space where we can consciously parent?
Sure. So, number one, stop telling yourself that things are hard. Because again, these are the stories that they feel like truths because we've been practicing them for so long. And a lot of times resistance is your friend. You're going to notice, like, if you have resistance to someone, it's a gift. If you have resistance to something that somebody says, like, and you think that's not true, but that's baloney, or that couldn't work, or I couldn't do that, lean into that, because that is a gift. It is a hint that there is something behind that, and that's your first place you want to go. Lean into that resistance and trust your brain is the other one. Whatever it shows you, you might think like, well, that doesn't even make sense. Of course it doesn't, because it wasn't created with your logical mind. It was created in your subconscious and probably from elsewhere. Our caregivers, the media, our friends, our like school system, like all the things we were surrounded when our brains were developing, we got a lot of messages. There was a lot of noise, and our brain wasn't adept yet at filtering. So what can we do to put ourselves first? Because as Laura said, you are a whole human being. It is not just because you are a parent that you need this, or you should learn this. Is you are a whole human and you deserve. There is a lot of thought and story around deserving and worthiness. And I'm just here to tell you, you were born worthy and nothing has changed. So let's just assume that that's true. And therefore, when you said putting yourself first, that's really funny, because I actually have a retreat coming up, a virtual retreat called Putting Mama First. And it's really because, I mean, we realized that a lot of the things we do as parents that seem to be for ourselves are really like for ourselves so that we can be better parents. And tips and strategies and stuff on what to do when your kids did this, so you can feel better as a parent. And that is wonderful, valuable, important, helpful. Like, we love that. And we saw a gap and a deficit or a hole where what about filling up our own human? Because we know we don't want to be snappy, pushy. Like, we on top, we compound this emotion. We get frustrated, and then we get frustrated ourselves, and we feel guilty and shame, and we're just compounding this emotion about what we felt in the first place. And so what can we do for ourselves as humans just to enjoy our life a little bit more, be conscious about our life, and choose? And so I'm hosting this, actually it's myself and Laura who are hosting this, Putting Mama First. And this is where you'll get to actually, it's an immersive experience. It's kind of like, we wanted to sort of simulate going to a spa and having like a menu of different things for your human. So we have like breathwork experts, we have facial massage, we have womb energy clearings, we have guided meditations, we have art, we have got music where you can, and movement where you can actually experience these things. Because then you're creating, first of all, you are allowing yourself time to participate in these things. And secondly, it gives you the physical experience of doing it, so that when you find yourself in a time where you feel like you could really use something, you have that muscle memory back about these things, and that you've already physically gone through, and you can pull that back up into your mind and then incorporate that into your routine. And we've done them purposely so that they're easy, bite-sized things, but it's for mama to reconnect with self-love and self-acceptance, self-worth, self-care, redefining self-care. Doesn't have to be this lavish vacation for a month with your, luxury style. It starts with noticing your thoughts and choosing kind words for yourself. And so we're really excited to host this. I invite you. It's a free event. I would love to invite you to attend that and learn alongside us and participate with it. The menu is very extensive and vast, and you can pick and choose the things that speak to you. And it's going to be a wonderful experience.
I hope everybody takes advantage of this, and you click on the link that's included in the email. Putting Mama First. It's a virtual retreat that you are absolutely going to love. And there was so much love truly, truly put into this virtual retreat. So we hope that you feel the love, and it will help you to be, it will help you with your parenting, and it will help you with your own human, your own soul, your own.
Yeah. The biggest transformation I see, and I know you do too, is like when you work with yourself, and the ripple of it's just so much easier, because we were looking for, like, I want to help my kid do this, and we focus so much on our children, but there's the energy behind that. They can feel that. Whereas when you, like you said, Lara, when you experience that transformation, that calm, that centeredness, that's the energy that emanates out into your family and ripples. And people, I mean, it's science. People get aligned with the energy that's in the room. And when your energy is calm and centered, it affects everybody. And like you said, your relationship with your husband's better, relationship with your kids is better, the relationship between your boys is better, has improved, and there's more patience and calm and compassion in your family. And that's a bonus. We really, like I said, wanted to serve you as whole humans. And the bonus is that it does ripple out. And like Laura said, this is going to be an incredible event. We've had so much positive feedback from the guest facilitators themselves, just saying like they've never seen something like this, because we really wanted it heart-centered. They've never seen anything like this, like what we're putting together. They're so happy to be a part of it. And we have some incredible humans in there. So it's going to be a great time.
We've all heard the saying, fill your cup first so that you have something to give to others. Well, what if you filled your cup completely full, all for you, and the overflow is what you gave to others? That's the kind of feeling that you'll get from this virtual retreat. Um,
Yes.
Sarah, if people would like to learn more from you, where can they find you?
Sure. Yeah. I'm on Facebook mostly. I have a group called Teaching Little Brains. Also on Instagram, teaching.little.brains, and Sarah Nickarock. I have a website, sarahnickarock.com. But really just like connect with me through DMs and any of the socials, and I'd be happy to
And your
connect.
podcast, Teaching Little
Oh, my
Brains.
podcast is Teaching Little Brains. Yeah,
And it's
that's really fun.
amazing. That's a beautiful place to start if you're really interested in learning about, your thoughts and your emotions and how those drive your actions. That's a beautiful place to start, is the Teaching Little Brains podcast.
That's what kicked everything off, because when I was learning this, I thought could be so impactful for the little brains in our lives. Like as a teacher, I thought this is like mental wellness. This is important. So I really wanted to help people understand how this stuff works, so that, like I said, they can feel empowered and free.
Thank you so much, Sarah. I do have a saying in the ADHD village: find your people, love them hard. And my life would not be where it is right now if I hadn't found you. So I am so grateful that I found you, Sarah. Thank you.
Likewise. Thank you so much. I love that saying. And I'm
Mhm.
so grateful that you did find me. And I love the work that you do. It's just phenomenal.
Thank you. And parents, thank you so much for watching. I hope that you were able to take something away from this, that you've learned something, that you've received a message. And I'd love to know what that is. Go ahead and in the Facebook group, the ADHD Village, let me know what you learned from Sarah's session today. You can look for her thread in the Facebook group and let me know what your thoughts are. I'd love to hear from you.
And
Sending
I love to share, just when I talked about like those negative thoughts, that negativity bias, we call them automatic negative thoughts, or ants. And the doctor who coined that term, Dr. Daniel Amen, he actually identifies 9 different types. So I'd love to offer like created a PDF that explains the different types and like what you might hear in your brain saying, and how to kind of refute those things and dig into the truth behind them.
Beautiful. Thank you so much, Sarah, for sharing that gift with everybody. Thank you. That gift as well as the virtual retreat. Thank you so much, parents, for being here. Sending you lots of love.